episode is brought to you by The Dark. The Dark. We're in a little bit of it now, but I'll tell you what, it's where the good things happen. Oftentimes, it's where babies are made. Certainly where subversive art is made. The Dark. And now, here's a song. People are strange when you're a stranger. When you're a stranger, people are strange. That's all the lyrics I know. I don't know. Okay, that's it. Here they are, your inveterable host, Carlos Kareem Wyndham. Hey, y'all. What it do, what it do? It has been a minute. We'll get into it. I forgot the order of things. That's what I'm supposed to. You get a few days off. You get a little food poisoning. Next thing you don't know what the fuck is going on. Hey, everybody. Boy, that was a settler's holiday and a half, huh? I guess if you did it. I don't know what you do. Let's see. Oh, hey, there's our record. There it is. There it is right there. Wallace and We Ride. It is available. What a great gift. It's gift giving time. Spotify is a shitty way to deal with that. I mean, you could listen to it there. We like spins, but I promise you, artists we don't get paid there. So if you wanted, you could pick that up on Bandcamp, and no requirement there. Hey, that's a picture of Quinn from a show that didn't happen. I don't know why I'm showing you that. Joshua, we gotta update those. Hey, this is Smoke and Mirrors. Listen, do you dig what we do here? You know what? I hear it's Giving Tuesday. There's all sorts of ways that you could give and contribute to this. The first, just share it. Just share it. Just like it wherever you happen to be. You're on the Facebook. You know the rules. You're supposed to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. You're on the Facebook, so you're supposed to make a watch party, I guess. Be that big of a nerd. I dare you. Go ahead. Make a Smoke and Mirrors watch party right now. There's going to be a good discussion. If you really, really love it, you know what? No obligation, but we would love if you dropped $5 on it. You could do that at the Venmo, at Carlos-Wyndham, at the Cash App, $CK Wyndham, at the PayPal /me, CK Wyndham, as in the jazz album, not the hotel chain. Wrong, slave owners. If you really, really, really love it, hey, become a patron. You could join us at the Patreon. That's Patreon at Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That is for the comedy, the culture, and the blackness. Some of the people who've done that are Ruthie, Erica, Amber, Aaron, Seth, Lisa, Kristen, Renisa, Michael, Natalie, Juliet, Tarika, Tracy, Venus, Jen, and Tink. If you do that, you will be holding, as you see my man Red Ray Frazier right there, your very own Carlos Kareem Wyndham Portland 2020 comedy trading card. Guess what? It's about to be 2021, so those are going to be in rare order in a very, very short time. So if you want this one, get that one. We might have a new exclusive one coming up for you in a minute. Only piece of news we have today, same news that we seem to keep having. Dateline, Arizona, Trump lost the election again. Today, that was announced again. It's starting to feel almost mean. Do you know what I'm saying? It almost feels like we're just kicking this person. Like, stop, stay down. This is embarrassing. I feel bad. I don't feel like you should keep losing anymore. It's a lot. Anyway, Governor Ducey and William Barr, both allies, both really looking for pardons, have called the race, so Trump can Oh man, it's sad. It's sad. I wish it would stop at this point. Um, all the winning. Today on the show, I have a very special conversation beneath the philosopher's tree. I'm very excited for this because I spent most of yesterday in a near hallucinogenic state of food poisoning.
Oh wow.
And my advice is if you taste the green chile and it's a little, it gives you a little, there's a tang, it's not bubbly, you know what I'm saying, but there's a tang, and you think to yourself, no, I can handle this. I eat everything, I'm good. just just skip it. Just skip it. That's my bit of advice on that. And with that, today, under the tree, this is very special for me. One, because we're very near this person's bedtime, and they're up doing this. Two, because this is somebody who I have watched grow as an artist through their young adulthood into the present. Somebody who is an author, an MC, a radio personality, a DJ, a community organizer, somebody who you should know, somebody who very recently was referred to as, hey, I didn't even know I really needed that, and you should know you need it. This is Gabriel Teodros. Please, some applause as we bring him under the tree. My people,
Hey, what's
my
up, Los? Good
people.
to see you.
It is
I'm
so good to see you.
sorry to hear about the food poisoning, man. That sucks.
Oh, it was not pretty.
Yeah.
It was not pretty. My child had to
Mm.
suffer through me being on the bed with the blankie up to my chin and
Oh,
a hood
oh.
over my head, kind of like, oh yeah, no, Papa's good. But you're gonna make your own dinner.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, no.
yeah, it was. Yeah. Wow. 13-hour nap though, so
Wow.
feeling better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of bone broth. Do you have a bevy yourself?
I just got some water here, you
All
know.
right. Okay. I got a warm bevy going on.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. There was some question, not in my mind, but in my stomach mind. Do you know what I'm saying? There was some
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you
glad
seem
we could make this happen.
yeah, thanks for the invite, man.
Oh, listen. So you've been up to so many things, and I was debating about which direction from which to tackle this, but I want to tackle this from now because one of the things that you had shared with me is that your personal wake up time for work is now 3 a.m. You said?
Yes, I wake up at 3 a.m. pretty much every weekday. You know what's crazy? I've always been a night owl, like my entire life. Um, and when I got the job offer, I was already
Yeah.
DJing at KXP. I was doing the overnight show, which
Right.
worked
You
because I'm
was
a
at the
night
night show. Yeah.
owl. And this summer, I got the phone call, and they asked me if I wanted to do this new show
Uh huh.
from originally they said from 4 to 7 a.m. And I said, can we make that 5 to 7? I didn't think there was any way I was gonna hold it down this long. Last
Right.
week, Los, I got up 4 out of 5 days without an alarm clock. Like
Wow.
it's that like dialed into my body at this point, that I need to wake up at 3
Man.
to leave the house at 4 to get to the radio station and start a show at 5 every day. It's wild.
Man. So wait, how long have you been doing the morning show now? Because you said it's dialed into
Uh,
your body.
oh, just since the summer, just since July.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But it
Okay.
took till last week. Like last week was the first week where I started waking up without an alarm clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, morning shows big things though. I mean, that's not nothing. That's the drive time, right? Well, I mean,
For Seattle, it is for our
in the
track.
old world, in the old world, I guess. But
Yeah, yeah, BC before Corona.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, listen. So you
Yeah.
say in Seattle, that's drive time, basically.
It is. It is because we have really bad traffic. Like our city, just the gentrification and the tech boom, like people flock to Seattle in numbers that the city is not able to handle.
Hmm.
So like our freeways aren't really built to handle as many people that we have in the city. So our traffic is just it's atrocious. So for a lot of people to get to their work, they gotta be on the road at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Say
But
if you watch that gentrification, go ahead, go ahead.
oh, also, KXP's just got such an international listenership that I find that, especially in the first hour of my show, a lot of my listeners are coming from the East Coast and Europe,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is wild.
See, you got a listener who's excited right now. We got a cheer from Grace, who's one of our regulars under the tree, saying
Nice.
"Yay to you, yay to seeing you on Smoke and Mirrors." That's excellent. Glad to see you with us, Grace.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, yay. So, in terms of that gentrification, right? You grew up in Seattle, yeah?
Yep, for sure. I was born and raised here in Seattle South End. Went to school in the Central District, which we brought you to in
Right,
1999. I remember.
right, yeah.
We brought. I'm pretty sure we brought you through to the CD. I think we might have brought you to A Son's grandma's house, maybe.
I think
uh,
we did, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But born and raised here. I had a high school experience in Vegas, but I came back to Seattle when I was 18. And man, I pretty much met you that year that I moved
Okay.
back. That was the same year as the WTO protests.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
What so during the protest, because we met, did we meet in the streets or did we meet at that club?
I believe we met at a club the night before in
Night before
30.
it got shut down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the eve of the WTO protest. And it
Right.
was the event we did was related to the protest as well.
Yeah, yeah. We were there in support. And I remember
Hmm.
everybody that I knew, not everybody that I knew, a lot of the artists that I knew were there to work as artists in support.
Hmm.
And then that next day popped off. What was that like for you when N30 popped off? Had you been in a lot of protests at that point?
It was interesting because I mentioned coming back to Seattle that year, right?
Right.
So, like what a lot of people don't realize about that year is the organizing that led to the WTO protests took most of 1999, you
Mm.
know? So I was going to direct action trainings, teachings about globalization. I remember there was like film screenings with the film Life and Debt with conversations afterwards about the effects of globalization on the global south. Like all this kind of work was happening the whole year that led up to the WTO protests. So I had also my father is both my parents are activists. My dad is very much a like if he wasn't having health problems right now, he'd be
Uh-huh.
front lines of a protester right now.
Yeah.
So I definitely grew up going to protests. Um,
Okay.
but what we saw in 30, like in WTO protests, was numbers that I'd never seen before. I've only seen numbers like that in the streets like a few times in my life, and that was the biggest up to that point. I don't know where y'all were that day. I was with Rajni, my friend Lexi, and Samantha when the tear gas and the rubber bullets came out,
Okay.
and I think
Yeah.
we were. Go
Oh no,
ahead.
we were some corner. We got cornered off, and
Yeah.
because I remember that morning, the one of the vans, one of the support vans from the Bay Area,
Hmm.
uh, Michael Franti was meant to be
Yeah.
on it, but then
He was, I believe.
nah, he bounced. Shit got hectic, and Purdy was like, nah, and so they that was his manager at the time, and so
uh,
they had asked us, the same crew, with it, Art and Revolution, I think it was called, in the
Okay.
Bay Area had asked me and Sheedy to be on that van, so we had ended up toward the front of the march, and then what was I don't remember where the intersection was where the actual meeting was happening, because I remember that was one of the last times protesters got direct access to the World Trade Organization, right?
It was by I believe it was by the convention center, and there was like
Okay.
some hotels. There were some
Yeah.
hotels where delegates were staying, and people were like locked arms around the hotel, like not allowing delegates to leave,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So the dancers who were there were part of that same Art and Revolution crew that we were part of. So once we got back around there,
Hmm.
we got cornered, and we got gassed as well. It wasn't tear gas though, because we didn't start coughing and stuff. But a lot of the
Mm.
people that I was with in the Bay Area ended up having like nightmares and night sweats for the next like 3 months. So I don't know what the fuck they gassed us with, but it was something. It was unpleasant.
Yeah, I remember. So yeah, me and Rajni, we were on that block by Nike Town, and
Okay.
I remember. I think it was the first group, or at least it was the first group that I knew about that got gassed up to that point that day. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, know
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it. Um, and I had been like, broke up a fight one time where I got maced before just because I was breaking up a fight.
Yeah.
It felt like that. It felt like
Yeah.
that, like it was stinging my eyes. If you rubbed it, it got worse, you know. Um, and the thing that shook me up was I wasn't prepared for the rubber bullets. Nobody told
Right.
me about the snipers that would be on top of the rooftops with the rifles with the rubber bullets. As an 18-year-old in the middle of the streets, I just remember thinking like they're shooting. Like what the hell? Like the cops are shooting us, you
Right.
know? Yeah, it took me a while to realize that they were, supposedly non-lethal, like rubber bullets. Um, those things can still do major damage though.
Yeah. Well, and that was back
Um,
in the day when they would still shoot it at the ground, right? Because now here in Portland, they stopped shooting at the ground. They just shooting motherfuckers dead in their face with these rubber bullets.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it's got
yeah.
it's got. I mean, it's just escalated.
And I remember stories of people that weren't even associated with the protests who had gotten shot in the eye and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
even back then. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Seattle police was reckless, but I was happy when you invited me to do this podcast because we kind of did it around the idea of, and 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, around the narrative of the WTO protests, especially here in Seattle, people like to talk about it like it was all white, and
Mm.
it feels like personal erasure. You know what I mean? From us and
Yeah.
all of the folks of color that I know that were helping to organize it here. Some of them have left Seattle, um, but yeah, I just want people to know that we were there, that we were there in the middle of it. The
Listen.
whole time. And there was a lot of us from all over the world. Like I met y'all from Oakland
Yep.
at the WTO protest. I remember there was a sister who came up from Mexico. She was a Zapatista, and she hung with us like the whole week.
Yeah.
She loved the energy of being around the artists and like hearing us freestyle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want people to know that that happened. And that global solidarity happened here in Seattle. I've since met people. My friend Jessica Horn. She's oh my God, I forgot what country she's originally from. Is it Uganda? She's based in London now, but she was at the WTO protest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Folks came from all over, and it was just such a beautiful global movement. And I think that's a story that we really need to make sure that youngsters don't forget.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, absolutely. I would add to that what we really, really contributed to it as well, right? Because the flavor of that
Yeah.
protest, including that chant. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Me and Shitty was on the van doing that because we wasn't gonna
Yeah.
sing no like little straight dry ass like whatever they had, right?
Mm.
I couldn't swing it. And so that like this is what democracy looks like. This is what like that was us.
That was you. That was you and Rashidi. That's
That was me and
history. Bro.
Shitty on the
Like that's
van, yo.
history.
And there's a
Wow.
whole documentary called that now. I
Yeah.
think there's a book
Yeah.
called the same thing. You know what I mean?
There is.
and
Yeah.
and it wasn't like the words were ours, certainly not, right? I mean,
But
I
but the
don't
rhythm
remember.
of it.
I don't remember what the old rhythm was even because I couldn't do it. It was so dry,
Yeah, yeah.
and because Kele was with us, Kele Ntoto, the drummer, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Shidi was with us. We was on that van, and he was
Mhm.
giving that the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And so we followed him, and so
Yeah.
that's where the rhythm came from. It actually came from what was being played on a djembe.
Come on,
So,
man.
I mean,
People
the
need to know
idea
that.
that we weren't there, that black folks weren't deeply a part of this, along with other BIPOC folks, because they certainly were, right? That was back
Absolutely.
when we were in movement, when multicultural was about trying to build an international solidarity movement before it got, you know,
Mhm.
mainstreamed. The idea, shall
Yeah.
we say?
Yeah.
And multicultural meant you'd see one Indian person and two other Asians and no black people at all.
Yeah, yeah. We know a lot about that up here, unfortunately.
Maybe a very light skinned person with a scarf from Spain around their neck. You know,
Yeah,
multicultural
yeah.
center. Like what? Where?
Where are the folks at? Yeah.
Listen, listen. Yeah, that was wild. So did you find that being in there?
Mm.
How? Well, I'm not even gonna ask if because I don't think you could have been in that and experienced the kind of like trauma because they escalated to a degree that was we weren't ready for. I will
No,
say that about all organizers who were there. We were not ready for that.
no. And what's crazy is, I remember like the next time I was in a protest that had numbers that overwhelmed me like that was, I had moved to New York in, I want to say 2002, and there was a huge rally to stop the war in Iraq. And I peeped what I peeped the New York police in Manhattan doing the same tactics that they did at the WTO
That they
protests in
practiced in
Seattle.
Seattle, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There was word on the street that they were practicing that. The cattling folks.
exactly. Yeah, the
Yup.
kenneling, like direct the people into this one street so they can then do a mass arrest.
Yeah,
Because of my
yeah.
experience with the WTO protests, I was able to know what the New York police were doing just because I had seen that trick before. I
And
knew that play.
recognize them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's
and
wild. It's wild. And the same thing with the rooftop shooting. I mean, again, like
mm,
while I mean it's so wild because what had happened here in Portland, and I don't know if people outside of Portland really truly understand how ridiculous it was in terms of the truly draconian, just bullshit justification that the police and the feds came up with to pretend like they were doing anything, right? Like they're talking about they're protecting this federal building
right.
that really until they fenced off, it wasn't a target of anything. You know what I'm saying? And until they started shooting protesters from there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was like, well, we just protesting y'all existence, but we're not protesting the building. Nobody cares about the building. Y'all
Yeah.
leave, it's going to get tagged up because you started messing with people. But before that, nobody cared.
And it's kind of identical to what happened here in Seattle with the so-called the Occupy protest, the CHOP or the CHAZ. I can't remember which was the accurate acronym. You know what I mean? But but that became ground zero for a lot of like organizing here, just because the police acted the way they did. When the
Yeah.
police left the police precinct, people just hung out. Nobody burned it down. You know what I mean? Like you said, it was a lot of graffiti. A lot of public art and people,
Right.
speaking outside, performing music,
Loudly,
uh, loudly. You know what I
assertively.
mean?
Yeah.
But but the police kind of made it what it was. You know what I mean? Like if if they weren't tripping, it wouldn't have been that.
Yeah.
So
No, I've been on this shit, right? Like about the reality that, and I think it was expressed really well in Lovecraft Country, right? This reality that there is no history, right? There is
mm,
no history. It's happening. It's happening,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And for the longest time, that nonsense bumper sticker about whatever you thought you would do during fill in the blank, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
doing it now. Like it could not be truer. It couldn't
Yeah.
be truer. How like
Yeah.
it amazes me that I had been in so many situations where through school, through the folks who put on or had the venues to put on a lot of what we had done and continue to do as artists, these nonsense arguments about, yo, if I had a time machine, I would have killed Hitler and boppity bop bop. And it's like,
Would
all
you?
right, motherfucker, go ahead.
He's right there.
What's up?
Yeah, he's
What?
blowing
Oh,
up your
you
Twitter
forgot
feed
Hitler had an
every
army, huh?
day. Right.
It wasn't just like some dude just screaming in a crowd. Like he was surrounded by a lot of protection,
Exactly. Yeah, you gonna come
using
go against the
ideas
whole
that he
military?
got from us.
No. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that
That's
crazy?
the insane shit. And the people still is like tripping. Like, wait, what happened? It's like, yeah, no, motherfucker, Hitler got the idea from the United States. That's not
Hmm. Hmm.
that wasn't no original shit.
South African apartheid too. They studied the U.S. too. You
Wasn't no
know.
original shit. I mean,
Mm.
and when we talk about the idea that racism is the greatest export of the United States, and in particular anti-black racism, the greatest export
Mm.
of the United States, it's created a false binary to match patriarchy that just covers the globe, which is like, but it's a globe.
Yeah.
How are you thinking in a binary?
Right.
It it baffles me. But yeah, no, we I mean, it's not different. It's not
Yeah.
different, right? We're still protesting for the same things: food, right?
Yeah.
Air,
Yeah. Hmm.
housing.
And it's wild because so many of the things that we were protesting for back in the late 90s, they are like those things are more crucial now than they ever were. You know what I mean? Like clean water. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like there's wars now over water. Like most Def was rapping about it in 1999 and it sounded
Well,
like science fiction, but here we are, you know?
and we were trying to warn people.
Yeah.
Trying to warn people. I mean, it was like we were sounding alarms, right? All those people, the other people that was in our crew from the Art and Revolution that you still see pictures of if you look at the protests, right? All them giant butterflies and shit. All them like
Hmm.
what is it? The puppets that were made, and there was crew in Seattle that made those giant puppets.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was I feel like I know people that worked on that. Was it the Infernal Noise Brigade?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. Thank you. I was trying to remember who it was that was up there because that was the same time that I had initially. I think that's when I had first linked with the Vera project.
Okay.
Was
and
around
they
that
were
time as well.
and they might have just been forming
Yeah,
back
they were
then.
just getting together.
They were just forming, and they were in the local 46. They didn't have a building yet. I remember we did
Yeah.
some early Bear Project shows before they had a building.
Huh.
Yeah,
Wild shit. Wild shit. So
yeah, it's history.
how did you find that experience radicalized you? Further radicalized your next steps,
Hmm. Well,
or did it?
I think of that time period as like, the band and the group that I was a part of, 500 Years.
Yeah.
Like for me, the WTO protest is was one part of like the 500 years era. You know what I mean? And we were this super young political like hip hop band. We were five MCs. Some live musicians that because of the way there was no all ages hip hop shows and all the MCs were under 21.
Right. Right. Right.
We pretty much like were limited to performing at protests, and I felt like in a lot of ways we became poster kids for a lot of like activist things that happened for a couple years, you know what I mean? So I do think of the WTO protests just as one part of like the education that I got from community organizers in Seattle that I definitely like carry with me to this day. The relationships I still carry to with me to this day are deep, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and it's funny too because like I was 18 back then, and I looked the youngest in the crew. So I think like most people thought I was 12. You know what I mean? But because of that, I
There
feel
there
like I
may
was.
have may or may not have allegedly been some debates
Oh yeah.
within our crew going, who this kid got skills. Well, how old is
I already know because I got it so much. But I mean, I kind of felt like I became everybody's little brother. You know what I mean? In a
yeah,
way,
for
like,
sure.
uh, and I don't know. Like I met some dope people. I just got so much lessons, and I guess the biggest thing I took from that era is, for me, music, organizing, activism, education, youth work. Um, I learned it all together, and it became one thing for me. You
Right,
know,
right.
and it's always been that ever since. Even though 500 years, and the length of my career was pretty short. It was like maybe 2 or 3 years we were all together as a band. It Yeah, in a lot of ways, like just the way everything interlocked is something that I've carried with me with every group I've been a part of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So artistically, what was the next move after 500 years? How did you continue your own artistic evolution, or what was the
Yeah.
path of the artistic evolution?
So it's funny because back then, the goal was to, get on some vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, nobody that we knew at least really had home studios.
Right.
So we were a band that, met once a week in, calling the keyboard player's basement, and we wrote songs and we rehearsed and we performed, and we had an album worth of material that if you didn't see the show, you never heard because we
Oh,
never recorded it.
oh,
So the 500 years era is also just a live experience.
yeah.
We never actually recorded as a group.
Damn.
Um,
I'm glad to have been a
yeah,
part of it. I'm glad I witnessed that then.
you saw it.
I saw it.
Um, the next thing that happened was, man, I started going to Vancouver a bunch, because, like I mentioned, there was no all ages shows at the time, but I was
Mm.
18 doing several shows a week. In Vancouver, the legal drinking age is 19. And we had some friends that were our age doing shows. So we started going to Vancouver to do shows. And I linked up with a bunch of artists and producers who kind of took me under their wing, and just kind of like, I got to shout out Mocha Only. He was a big mentor to me back then. He did have a home studio, and he did like take me under his wing and start producing tracks, um, and that kind of led to my first solo record, which is this thing called Sun to a Recycle Soul back in 2001. I'm embarrassed a lot by that album. Like I won't play it for people now. It's not on streamers, so don't even look for it. But that this is just it's a part of my journey, so it is what it is. Um, and the same time I was working on that album, a brother named Kings, who was in another group, they were kind of big brothers to us. They also had a live band. They were called Maroon Colony. Me and Kings found ourselves at a lot of the same hip hop shows, but also in a lot of the same community organizing spaces. So
Yeah.
we were both part
Yeah.
of a group called, Youth and Youth Undoing Institutionalized Racism. And we both realized, going to all these meetings, that we hate meetings, but we can make it through if we can make the other person laugh. So so that kind of became the genesis of like one of my greatest friendships in my life, and that turned to the group Abyssinian Creole, and we put out our album in 2005. And Abyssinian Creole, like in so many ways, man, is just the foundation of everything else I've done. Like I said, 500 years is, but really like Abyssinian Creole, like that process, that friendship, um, the even just the conversations, like Khalil is the one dude in my life that I've always I've always been able to talk about, like redefining and breaking down what masculinity is. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And fighting against patriarchy inside of hip hop, fighting against homophobia
Mm.
inside of hip hop. It's a very vulnerable and like sacred friendship that I feel like as brothers we don't have that often. And that friendship with Khalil is something that's continues to like change and like be so like just so valuable in my life. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
say it's bigger than hip hop, but it really is. But also when it comes to the hip hop, like Khalil's also the coldest MC you'll ever hear. especially when it comes to freestyles. He's always made me step my writing up because he's the most prolific writer I know.
Hmm.
Um, and I love the process of working on that album because it was me, Kings, the producer Teal, our brother Chasm, who kind of helped help produce that album. Everything that you heard on the record, we can't. If we don't like something on the album, it got tossed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that process of working collectively, based on consensus, is also something that I've taken with me through every single musical project that I've done. You
Mm.
know, and it's something that I think can work beyond music as well, just like on an organizing level. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I started learning about the Zapatistas later on, I was like, oh, they do consensus too. You know, that's tight. And yeah, so that's kind of where the music went next. It was Abyssinian Creole, and then my solo album Love Word dropped in 2007. Blue Scholars had blown up at that point,
Yeah.
and they put some money behind that album, which helped it get to the international, stage. And yeah, I've just been going ever since.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good era, man. Okay, I'd forgotten about like how many shows that we had done with Blue Scholars, but how many shows we had done with you because that I
Yeah.
mean, and that was not in one place. That was Seattle. That was Oakland. That was Vancouver. That was then Oakland again. Like
Hmm.
it was a minute. It was a minute. We were
Yeah,
moving. Yeah.
definitely, definitely.
So how'd you end up DJing at a station? What was what brought you into that?
Man, I've always wanted to DJ since I was, a youngster, recording stuff
Who
off
were
the radio.
your people? Who did you listen to, or what was it that you were hearing and wanting to do? Were you
I
trying to
was listening
emulate?
to I was listening to KCMU, which oddly enough became KXP, the station I work at.
Okay.
They had a they had a weekly show called, at that point it was called Rap Attacks. It became Street Sounds.
Yep.
Nasty Ness was one of the hosts. Glenn, what's his name? Glenn Boyd was one of the hosts. But yeah, I used to listen to that show, and record it on audio cassette because, like I was a kid that would save up money every week to go buy a new tape. Like I wouldn't eat just to get new music. That's how invested I was. But
Tape
the
was eight
stuff they
ninety
played on the
nine. Yeah, you had to be careful. You couldn't afford pizza and a tape. Tape was $8.99.
exactly.
Yeah,
So just wait to eat till you get home and buy some music. But
that's it.
But yeah, the stuff on the radio a lot of times was stuff that you couldn't buy. So I used to stay up with my tape deck and listen to the radio constantly. I wanted to DJ before I ever rapped, and just because my family was broke, that didn't really work. Like, we couldn't afford turns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a lifelong thing, man. I started collecting vinyl when I was, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. Um, and man, I'll just fast forward. Like my first radio experience was actually in 2005 as well. I
Okay.
got an invitation to DJ on a station here called KBCS, and we started a hip hop show on that station called Zulu Radio. It was the first hip hop radio show that station had ever had.
Okay. Are
I
you a
bel
member of Zulu?
no, but
No. Your partner?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Chasm
Okay.
is a he's the founder of the Seattle chapter of the Zulu Nation. He was
Oh,
also my
that's
roommate at the time.
okay. See. Yeah. Now I'm officially, as you were talking about, right, with the breakdown of the patriarchy,
Yeah.
of hypermasculinity, right, and the
Mm-hmm.
revelations that Baby Bam brought forward, right, in
Mm.
terms of the level of abuse, um, and then the behaviors of like Chris and Rich and some other folks like around doing what hypermasculinity requires, right? It's like if your dude gets called out for something, you come to their defense because of what they meant to you, rather
Yeah.
than hearing what it means to not only the victim who was willing to speak up, but the many, many, many dozens who were not.
Exactly.
And what it means to, I mean, just the oddity of what it then implies, right?
Mm-hmm.
For us all to then have grown up under this system that was really, in part, about this dude grooming little
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah. It's
It's
gross.
like, yo, man, like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
So yeah. So, but
Yeah.
you were carrying nonetheless the tradition, less the tragedy forward
Yeah.
as you created the art, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we did Zulu radio. It's funny because myself, it was three of us. Chasm, who is the founder of Seattle, 206 Zulu.
Right. Right.
Waylon, Waylon, and myself. Both of us were decidedly not members of Zulu Nation, but we rock with Chasm, and I still rock with Chasm and 206 Zulu to my dying day. Because in
Yeah.
my opinion, what they did with their community organizing in Seattle is greater than anything the New York Zulus brought to us. Like
Amen.
I decided not to join Zulu Nation before I knew anything about Bambaata's allegations, just because I saw some funny stuff with the New York Zulus that came to Seattle back in the day,
Okay.
and and I didn't want to be a part of an organization where I don't like the idea of kings. I don't. You know what I mean?
I
Like it's
do.
funny because
I know exactly what you mean. I was talking about that very idea with my child earlier. Go ahead.
yeah, it's funny because people would be like, peace king, or like, they'll say king or queen like
Yep.
they're giving you props. But to be a king is like to be a ruler, to be an oppressor. Like it's horrible. Like it's the last thing I want to be. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
you
And
own things. You own people. If you a king.
yeah, no, I don't want to be a king. Like,
Mm-mm.
um, but it seemed like with respect to the positive things that Zulu Nation gave to countless, youth around the world. Like I don't want to discredit that,
Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
but I couldn't get down with the organization where there was never going to be equality between women and men in that organization, and I
Mm-hmm.
could see that back in the day. You know what I mean?
Say
Um,
word.
yeah, so it was interesting. I was like, yeah, I'll rock with 206 Zulu and I'll rock with Kaz and Kitty and all my people here, but the overall Zulu Nation, I feel funny about.
Yeah.
But that's a
I'm
side
glad
note.
that you.
That was,
I'm glad that. Well, I mean, it's a side note, but I'm glad that especially in hip hop and in the periods in
uh-huh.
particular that I came up in, but also that you came up in, right? It as much as it's a side note, it's not a side note, right? Like it's
Right.
a thing
Yeah.
that influenced a lot of the decisions that
I had,
many of
I
us
had to,
made. I got you. I got you. I got you. Take your
I
time.
had
I
to,
got
I
the
had to,
screen.
I had to hand my partner
Uh,
something.
no problem at all. Uh, but it was a time where like that really really mattered, right? And there were circles in which having credibility was something that was afforded to you if you had on one of those medallions, if you knew Wiggles, if you knew Legs, right? And
Yeah.
and
True.
that just it was a pass, but it was also, uh, you know, with cats like yourself, and not you in particular, but I had definitely entered more than one battle circle or more than one just cipher where you
Yeah.
mentioned that shit. You better bring it. You better bring, and I didn't, not that day, and I was the one. I was. I was the goofball who got up in there talking about Zulu Nation with that and just got torn apart and
Oh man.
had doo doo to say about it. Was just like, oh, okay.
Dang.
I mean, I made it same circle. I made it up with them later, like we people. But
Okay.
yeah, man. I listen. We all flub. Our egos get up in it, and I think Zulu. Even in terms of that shit, you were talking about kings and queens and stuff like, and building on that as the idea for how you would knit a community together.
Hmm.
I mean, it's built on that kind of like ego and hype and whatever, and that cred. You ain't
Yeah.
always earned it.
I really loved Julie C. and Rosa Clemente and Cutting Candy's letter that they put out
Yeah,
afterwards. I signed on to that letter as well.
yeah,
They're talking about movements, not idols. You know what I mean? It was a great response. I felt like
yeah. Rosa
just to the
comes with it.
whole,
Rosa comes with it.
yeah, the whole just fuckery, man. Can I curse on here? It's not
Yeah. Oh
KXP. I
yeah.
can
Oh
curse.
yeah. Fuck shit. All of it. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
What
wild.
else, man? I
That's
forgot. I
wild.
forgot where I was or what we were talking about.
That just, I mean, well, the connection to Zulu was because of your career,
Yeah.
right? The evolution of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
you were asking about radio. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
I was doing KBCS. I was doing Zulu radio for a couple years. It was a volunteer position. All of the DJs on that station were volunteers, and it was great. I loved doing it. And then I left Seattle for a while
mm,
to record albums. I lived in Vancouver for a while. Just kind of went on I don't know, I went on my journeys, and when I came back, um, I just didn't come back to KBCS. I just wasn't doing radio. I was doing other things in life.
okay,
But I really missed it, and I've always had a great relationship with KXP because they're a station that championed our music just early on, with Abyssinian Creole and with my first solo album and everything since. Um, And when Donald Trump became president, I saw this radio station that I didn't really think of as a place that made many political statements. I saw them do things that, just made me go, huh? Like, they invited me to perform on the day of Trump's inauguration. This is before I
mm,
worked there. And they basically had a protest event. They didn't call it a protest because you can't, but
right,
it's what it was. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They brought the community together around the ideals that they believed in, and we performed, we mourned, we were with we were with each other. And
yeah,
then the next thing that happened was the Muslim ban. The world music host Derek Mazzoni, he had the brilliant idea of like, oh, you're doing a Muslim ban? We're gonna play nothing but music from those countries that you're banning. That's all we're gonna play. And he was gonna do it on his show, but the radio station thought it was such a great idea that all the DJs did it. And I
wow,
came back that day to
okay,
on Derek's show because I hit him up and I was like, it's such a great idea. Can I give you some music from some folks that I know from Sudan and Iran? And he's like, oh, just come on the show. So that was me getting back into the booth for the first time in
huh,
years, and and just being there, I was like, man, I miss this so much. Um, and then the last thing that happened that year that got me to go to KXP was, did you know? I don't know if you met John Moore back in the day, word sayer from Source of Labor. He
I don't.
was a he was an
Word
MC.
say is familiar. Word say is familiar. I don't know if
Yeah,
I don't know if I knew his legal, but I know the name Word Sayer. That's definitely in the memory bank.
yeah, he was an MC. He was an artist manager for a lot of people, community organizer, man. Like a big brother, a mentor to me.
Yeah.
He passed away
Oh
that
man.
year, and people called John, they called him word sayer the mayor. You know what I mean? There's like Macklemore has lyrics in some of his songs where he's like, without John it seems kind of hard to do. Like John was such but what's the word for it, like an ambassador for like
Yeah.
Seattle hip hop, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he was so connected, and he just did some, him and his ex-partner Erica White as well, Kylia, the two of them, um they brought hip hop in Seattle to places where it just wasn't. And I mean literally, like, before my time,
Yeah.
you could only do hip hop in the Central District, like in the black neighborhood, at a few community centers.
Right.
John literally brought hip hop to clubs downtown, and he did it by
Mm.
riding his bicycle there every day and like knocking on people's doors. So he was a person that like did this throughout his whole life. And back in the day when I was on Zulu Radio, I was on the air the day Dilla died, and we
Okay.
did and we did two shows where we played nothing but Jay Dilla's music, and that was, it felt like a right, like, dedication to just the breadth of his work. It was
Yeah.
incredible. Um, I wanted to do something similar for John when he passed away, and I wasn't able to. But instead of being upset about it or sad about it, because there was tributes that happened, it just wasn't exactly what I would have done. I don't want to
Right.
knock
Right.
what happened. It was beautiful, but instead of being upset, I just asked myself, what would John do? And that kind of became my mantra that year. And I said, I know John would do anything he could to take the culture to places where it wasn't. You know what I mean? Or to just
Mm-hmm.
take the culture and like forward. So with that in mind, I just emailed the people I knew at KXP and said, how do I become a variety show host? I don't want to do the hip hop show. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do I don't want to do the specialty show. I want in your variety hours because the variety hours are the primetime hours and they
Yeah.
play everything. And I listen to everything. I want to play everything.
Yeah.
Even back with
Yeah.
Zulu Radio, we didn't want to just play hip hop, you know?
Right. Right.
Um, and we had a meeting and in the meeting our program directors, John Richards, and Morgan, who also works there, it was a great meeting. And I remember they told me, if we hire you, we're hiring you for your ear. We don't want you to ever play a song on the radio that you don't like. In fact, if it's in our heavy rotation, but it's something you don't like and you played it, take it off while it's spinning. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And from that moment, I knew that the relationship with KXP was going to work,
Yeah.
and
That's real.
it's been ever since.
That's real
So I've only
trust.
been
That's
there.
real trust.
Yeah, I haven't even been there 4 years yet.
Mm.
But yeah, they gave me the overnight shift first. I was there for over 3 years. And this year, in the wake of George Floyd, and you know, KXP put out a statement about, how their daytime DJs are all white, how the leadership of the organization is all white, and how they need to do better. And they put out that statement, and they really like took a long, hard look at themselves, and they were like, the statement is hollow, it's meaningless if we don't make some real changes. So they did exactly that, and they started with the staff of color that they already had, and they made a bunch more hires after that too.
Mm.
So that's that's when I got the early show. My brother Larry Mizell Jr. got the afternoon show. He's on the executive team now. I'm also an
All
associate
right.
music director there.
All right.
Um,
Come on.
yes, Supreme LaRock is the new Sunday Soul host. We got two new Street Sounds hosts. We got a what do you call it? Afrobeat show.
Mm.
It's just a lot of great changes they've been making, and I'm really proud to be a part of it, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I talked about getting up every day at 3 a.m. without an alarm clock because I love what I do every single day, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean that. It's amazing as you're talking about that, right? The reality that I have been lucky enough. Few of us, many of us, have been lucky enough to see some of our legacy as part of our lives, right? And there are others for whom you can't. I mean, the legacy of George Floyd, like, is not. You can't touch it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't touch it, and
Change the
and
world.
it changed the world. And there's no take
Mm-hmm.
backs. There's no
Mm-hmm.
take backs. I mean, that is an example. I know I have many clients who, for years, right? These are people who have been flying whatever kind of flag of multicultural, BIPOC, blah 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 blah, and now it's like, no. This is what these are the raises we instituted. This is how we made sure we've got executive positions opening up, and people are
Mm-hmm.
really. I mean, it's being taken very very seriously across the board, and it's amazing, to know that both that is how you end up in the position on the morning show, right? And carries with it the weight and the responsibility that you talked about, and you talked about in terms of Larry as well, right? Like the legacy of asking, what would the people, our forebears, do, and in whose name, and what's the legacy on which this is being built, so that we're able to take it
Mm-hmm.
forward constructively. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's a it's a load, but it's real, and you're carrying that with grace.
appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
It's I'll share something with you. I haven't done it in the last couple of years, but for years and years, I had a whiteboard in my room, and it was like a vision board, but it didn't have like pictures or anything. It just had a list of things I had to do this week,
Yeah.
and then and on one side, and then on the other side, it had a list of like what are the things that matter the most to me in life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
and on that list, I would always ask myself like, I want to make music. Okay, why do I want to make music? Like, what's underneath that? You know what I mean? And I would always it would always break down to me to be like continuing the artistic legacy, just to to make sure that everything that I've learned in my life gets transmitted into the future, like so I can be a conduit for all this stuff. So the art and the music and everything that has inspired me and has inspired our people collectively to like rise up, so those things can live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I break that down to like that was really underneath why I wanted to make music more than anything else, then it opens up to all these other things that I can do. And now the other side of my vision board where I had the list of things I had to do this week, if they didn't match my overall goals, I just started wiping them off.
Huh.
And my life became really simple after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 You just brought it into focus for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And it's
This.
now it's just kind of in me. So when people, people ask me to do all kinds of things, I just do a self check. Like, does this feel good, or do I just kind of feel like about it? If it
Mm-hmm.
feels all the way good, like if I'm completely excited about it, then it's yes. But if there's any part of me that's like, I don't know, it's just a simple no, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It-
Yep.
and it helps with my energy. So
I adopted that very same thing in terms of not only energetically but artistically,
yeah,
um, and in terms of organizing and in terms of the movement, right? In terms of the
mm,
steps being taken, does this have integrity to it, and is it going in the right direction? And if it's not, no, thank you. I appreciate the
yeah.
opportunity. And if you'd like some advice, if you'd like to pick my brain, I have a rate. We can
There you
talk.
go.
We can talk.
Yeah.
But no, 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 thank you.
I
Yeah.
got to get better at that one. Charging people for advice.
Listen, listen. You can pick my brain. You can pick my brain, and we can even get you to the friend's price. But first, you're gonna know, right? That out the pocket, out the gate, you asking
Yeah,
corporate 375, 500 if you want two brains in the room. Period. Period. I don't
yeah.
care what kind of time, and I charge by the quarter hour.
There you go. By the quarter hour.
By the
Hey.
quarter hour. Okay. So if it is now, I've been an hour and 15 minutes. Guess who's getting charged for 2 hours? Come on,
hmm
stop. I can't play. I can't play. Too much. Too
Yeah,
much. Don't let them do you like that. Don't let them do you like that. You get. I mean, the gift
that's
you have. You have a value. You
that's
bring a
real.
value to it.
That's real. You can tell we live in some white cities just to deal with this, man.
Shit.
Tell.
Shit. There's strategies. Good
Man,
lord.
how is the move from Oakland to Portland been for you, man? Because I can't even imagine.
It's been a minute now, so it's all right. It's all right. I mean,
Okay,
the main reason I came really is to be with my daughter.
say
So
that. Mm.
that in and of itself took a lot of the sting out of it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a different city than Oakland. And I'll say this, because I've been gone so long, the Oakland that I left is not Oakland as it
yeah,
stands. So
yeah.
I've been back and I love it, and I love my people who were there, and I mean, Oakland is in me forever. But it's white
Mm-hmm.
chocolate and chocolate are not quite the same thing. It's just not the same thing. Needs more
Yeah,
cocoa.
yeah.
Needs more cocoa.
Sometimes I think our homes are like, sometimes they're more of a memory than a place, you know?
That's real.
Yeah,
That's real.
yeah. It's cold because like where I'm at right now is like blocks from where I was born, like literal blocks.
See,
But it's a completely different world, you know?
right, right. And at the same
Yeah.
time, exactly the same place, right? Because there's no history. And,
The same place.
people
Yeah.
be talking about the South. It's like south of what? The pole? Which south of what? Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I really, really appreciate this. Is there anything else you want these people to know before I know you have a celebration you got to get to this evening.
Yeah, we're going to the book launch. I'm just gonna plug the book. You
Plug
know,
it.
Ijoma Oluo's Mediocre, Dangerous Legacy of White Male America launched today. We're going to Langston Hughes right now in about 40 minutes
See?
to do the book launch today on her pub day. She's like right there having food with her son right now. And yeah, it's a big day, you know?
That's a huge day. That's a huge
Yeah.
day. The family that creates together is the family that stays together. I mean, that's it. That's everything. That's beautiful.
Say that. That's right.
That's beautiful. Absolutely true. All right.
Yep.
Where can we find you on these socials? Is it Facebook and Twitter? That's the mains? Or Facebook and IG,
Instagram
I
too.
guess? Instagram. Thank you.
Yeah. And Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
At Gabriel Teodros, you know.
All right.
GabrielTeodros. That's it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for the time, my brother. I really, really, I can't tell you how much it warms my heart to see you and to see you doing so well, and to hear the story of how I've gotten to frequently see. We didn't even have time to talk about the fact that you and Walida is partners in the book and shit. We're gonna have to talk about it again. We got to bring you on
Hey,
again.
Walita's one of my dear friends too, man. Like I love her. Like one of my biggest
Yeah.
inspirations and a dear friend, you know?
Yeah, no, she listen. If you're not ready to be inspired, if you're not ready to have your life shook up, don't sit down for no coffee with Walida. If it weren't for her, this wouldn't be happening straight up. She
I mean, I
like
don't know if I'd be sitting here like just as a person. Like Walita changed my life that much. You know, me and Walita been tight probably since I was like 19. Like I met her the year after I met you,
see,
you know?
yeah, no, she's something for real. I mean, I'm telling you, it was at a coffee shop that's not even a block away, and
Hmm.
we were talking, and I was trying to figure out what my next move was going to be, and we were talking about what we could build, and we talked for an hour or so, and she goes, "Well, this is what you do." I was like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? This is not a thing. What the fuck is this? This is dumb. Nobody wants this." And
Yeah,
that, and now it's like you said, it's like I could feel any kind of way, but if I have it in me, I can't. It's meant so much to me to be able to build community, to
yeah,
continue to build it, to be able to share
yeah.
the people who have influenced and inspired me,
Hmm.
and along with Walida, I got to tell you, it is an honor. It is a privilege for me to consider you amongst those people.
Man, much love, Los. Man,
Oh
it's good to see you, and yeah, always love when we get to reconnect, man. It's
yeah,
been too long, you know.
it has been too long. We got to make something happen. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, after this pandemic, man, we gotta like
Please,
just start
please,
driving up and down I-5. We're not that far.
at all. We'll make it happen. We'll make it
Yeah,
happen for sure.
yeah. All right, bro.
Hey, thank you so much for the time. Really, really appreciate it.
No doubt. Have a good one, bro.
All right, you do the same. Everybody under the philosopher's tree, please, one time, give it up for my man, Gabriel Teodros. Please. Oh, see, I said it like Rashidi. After we talked all that talk, Teodros, I know how to say it. Damn it. Ah, that's my man's Gabriel.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here. Lord. Y'all remember that time that I had somebody out here and completely forgot their fucking name right before I introduced them? Somebody I've known for 15 years? Good Lord. The brain. When you're trying to work all the things. Ooh, tell you what. Hey, please go check out my folks on the IG. Grace, thank you too. Appreciate it. Tracy, Our producer is all over making sure that we see all the Instagram and the Facebook links in the chat. Check those out. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I am very glad that I was able to do this. Special shout out to my child for allowing me the space and the time to sit here and do this. And you're hungry? All right. Okay. I'm gonna, it was a big close, no, it's fine. And another shout out to my stomach for just resting for a little bit and giving me at least this hour not to be making green things. Thank you so much. This has been another Smoke and Mirrors. If you like what we do here, check it out at the IG, the Instagram there, Smoke and Mirrors CCB. That is comedy, culture, and blackness. Myself, I'm also on Twitter. I wasn't smart enough to use my own name, so I used Caballo Negrito. For the English-speaking amongst you, for those who do not speak Spanish, Caballo Negrito translates into Black people will take over the entire planet. That is the direct translation of Caballo Negrito. You can also check us out and send us suggestions about who should be on the show, what we should talk about, what we should think about at Smoke and Mirrors CCB at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you there. This is a thing that is produced and hosted by myself, Catalyst Kareem Wyndham. This is also produced by Tracy Tatamy. Thank you so much for being here today. We do hope to see you again, so we're going to say what we always say. Please stay inside. If you do go outside, wear a mask. When you come back inside, wash your hands. Why? Because we love you. Bye-bye.